Hey everyone, just want to do my Tuesday Q&A. I do these every Tuesday. The next one will be on June 27th. Post your questions below and I'll answer them in the next one. I do have an FAQ, frequently asked questions section on my website, so be sure to check that out first because I'm not going to answer anything that's already answered on there. Let's get started, guys. We have a ton of great questions to go over. First one, Luchador EMC, where did you meet her? In reference to my girlfriend, Antine. We met in New Orleans during the winter time, and we've been dating since then. Kevin Strickland, these really gloomy days over here in Florida are hurting my solar setup. I'm debating on getting another solar panel or adding an isolator. However, I do not travel except for 50 minutes a day or 30. Do you think an isolator would benefit me over another solar panel, or should I get both? I don't think it hurts to have an isolator because, like you said, you can have as many panels in the world, but if it's really cloudy or it's the middle of the winter and you don't have a lot of peak solar hours, it's going to be tougher. But if you're not driving very much, like for me, I don't have a full isolator. It's just a cable that connects my positive terminal of the car battery to the house battery, so it equalizes the charges, and then the alternator can kind of charge them both. So it takes a little bit longer than 15 to 30 minutes of driving for me to like really get a full charge out of it, but it is a nice supplement, and I find that it works really well with my 100-watt panel. It depends what you're powering though. And you know, if you maybe need both, it's definitely possible. If you're powering more than just a refrigerator, then maybe getting both I would have to say I recommend, but it really depends on that. Bree0831, hey Nate, I was out in Vegas for a conference when you were passing through. Oh yeah. I was only there for a few hours, so question is, do you use a large national bank to avoid fees? Yep, yeah, I do. I do. I use a big bank. They're pretty much everywhere, all throughout the whole country. And then will you renew your license in Massachusetts again when it's due, or in Louisiana where the Element is registered? Thanks in advance. So, I'm probably not going to renew my license in Massachusetts, and I'm probably not going to register the Element again in Louisiana. I'm going to establish domicile in one of the states that's more full-timer friendly. Probably South Dakota is what I'm leaning towards, so that is on the radar at some point in the near future. My collection of video games, are you planning on going to the San Diego Zoo? Probably not. You know, Antine and I were thinking about going there while she's here in town, but it's really expensive. It's like $50 for tickets just to get in for just for the day. So I've done it before years and years ago, so I don't know if I would want to do it again. And it's really expensive to check that out. And then will you get a job with the same surf company again this summer? Yeah, I'm planning to work with them at least part-time and teach some lessons throughout the summer here. Kevin Strickland has another one here. Loving all the production. Thank you. What do you use for your patron fund? It's just patreon.com. There's a patreon.com/elementvanlife. There's a link in the description on all my videos. And then you do web design. How did you get into the field? And more importantly, how do you offer your services? So I've used Upwork before to get clients in web design. I've also just looked on Craigslist for video editing and videography and web design type gigs and managed to pick up work that way more often than not. Upwork is just like a freelance website that works really well for that. Michael Peterson Jr., Nate, will you ever show us a review of your Asus laptop? I would like to do like a tech-style review of the laptop at some point. It's a UX303UB. It is an incredible laptop. It's worked out really well so far. I don't know longevity-wise how it's going to hold up, but if I can get a few years out of it, I'd be happy. At some point, I'll do like a type of review on it. I think I would like to do that at some point. Ratflinger1, I have a foodie question. What kind of oil do you use when you fry stuff? More often than not, I'm just using butter to saute up, vegetables and things like that. And then I also sometimes use olive oil when I'm cooking. Charlie Lockwood, do you use some sort of fan when temperatures get hot at night? Yep, yeah, I do. I've got a 12-volt fan. It works really well. Pop open the windows, crack the windows up front, pop open the sunroof, and get some airflow in here, and it works really well on hot summer nights. Nick Ramsey, I have an Element 2 dude doing the van life in Tahoe. If you get a chance to come up and come visit, definitely, I would love to come check out Tahoe at some point. How do you like the space in the Element, and what is your minimal wardrobe like? So in terms of the space in here, I'm pretty comfortable with it as like a solo traveler, and it has worked out pretty well, for Antine and I being in here the last few days. It's been really comfortable, but at some point I do want to maybe get something a little bit bigger. And then what is your minimal wardrobe like? I'm going to do a video on that, going into more detail. I know I've been talking about that a lot, but that is on the agenda for, you know, pretty soon at some point in the near future. But in terms of, you know, just the basics, I've got like 4 or 5 t-shirts that I rotate through. I have a couple pairs of shorts, a couple pairs of jeans. I have a dress shirt, some khakis, you know, some dress shoes, sneakers, flip-flops, a couple of polos, a couple of sweatshirts, and that's pretty much it. It all pretty much fits in like a carry-on size bag. Rick Savage, have you ever gone grunion hunting? I had to look that up. I didn't know what that was, but I've never been. It's basically it's like a fish that washes ashore, like I guess at nighttime at certain tides here in Southern California. But I haven't gone and done that. It does sound like a pretty cool thing to do. Cidadude, what's your Battle.net username in reference to the Overwatch game that I mentioned that I play in the last Q&A video? It's NMR772. Don't judge me too much. I placed in bronze the first season that I started playing, and I feel like I've gotten a lot better at the game. Like I know how to play. I know how to play with all the heroes and stuff, but it's really hard to climb out of bronze once you're stuck down there. You just always get stuck with like crazy matches and crazy things happen where people, you know, quit and stuff like that. So if anyone's like good at that game and wants to team up with me and help me get out of bronze, I'm all for it. Mike Hans, any tips for acquiring new skills to do online work? You touched on the topic. A bit of online resources. Are you totally self-taught, or you've taken actual classes? I've never taken any actual classes in a school. I mean, I've done like online, you know, Udemy courses. I know I've mentioned that before. It's like 20 or 30 bucks. You pay for a course and you get access to all these great videos and exercises and things like that. So I've done that before, but never in like an actual, you know, school or university or anything like that. So it is all pretty much self-taught. Like I said, Udemy, YouTube, Stack Overflow is a great source of information. You can go on there and pretty much figure out how to do anything. So when you're out there like creating things and starting to build little apps and little websites and stuff, I would use Stack Overflow to research how to do certain things with CSS or JavaScript or whatever it may be. Even like PHP and, you know, MySQL and everything like that. Chad Zviak says, how much does a used Honda Element cost? It's pretty hard to say exactly. I know that as a rule of thumb, they are in demand here, so I feel like their prices are a little bit higher than like your average SUV or van or car of the same year, make, miles, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd say it definitely varies. 2003 to 2011 is when they were manufactured, so it's going to vary pretty substantially. As you get older, it'll be less, and you get newer, it'll be more. And then, is it easy for tourists to buy a car in California? I've heard of that being a thing that happens, where folks will come over and get like a few months of like a visa or something like that, be exploring the country, and they'll buy like a van or something like that in California, and then they sell it when they leave. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I've definitely heard that that's a pretty popular thing that folks do. Derek Nelson, Nate, you have to make your way to Chicago. It's beautiful this time of year. Any plans to make it to the city? Do you ever meet up with followers? So I do meet up with followers occasionally, and then I would love to go to Chicago and spend more time there. I've been there a couple of times before, and it's a really cool city. I would love to spend a little bit more time there, but probably not this year. Probably at some point. Maybe next year, at some point I'll be able to get over there and spend a week there. Shade Tree Garage, I know you were recently in the Big Bend, Fort Stockton area. Did you pass through Odessa, Texas? I did not make it up to Odessa or Midland. I stayed south on I-10 the whole way. I never really went any further north than that once I got to western Texas. Have you ever been to South Padre Island off the coast of Corpus Christi? I have not. I've surfed, the farthest I've been is like Surfside area. I don't even think I've ever been to Matagorda. You know, when I was living in New Orleans, it was just a lot easier for me to drive to Florida, either in Pensacola or like the west coast of Florida, Clearwater area, or even to the east coast of Florida. And it was more likely that the surf was going to be good on the east coast anyways. So it was just a lot shorter just to drive over there. So I never really had much reason to go west to Texas. Hello, Nate. This is No Vallejo. How do you deal with loneliness? I know you meet up with other people, van lifers. I'm sure there are a lot of alone time driving. For me, like, you know, those driving times where I'm alone, I'll make a phone call to like to a friend or something like that somewhere else in the country and talk to them and catch up with them. I feel like a lot of the time I kind of enjoy being alone. It's just I'm a little bit introverted, so it's a way to recharge my batteries, I guess, and just, I enjoy that alone time. And then when you're out in those national parks, you're meeting people who are camping, who are living in vans and RVs full time. I'm always find myself when I'm out hiking, meeting random people and talking to them. So, if you go out there, it's pretty easy to just kind of start meeting people and talking to them. And I guess that's a way to kind of get your I guess your desire to be social from time to time. James Reed, my wife and I are planning on joining this lifestyle within a year. Right on. What are your suggestions as far as preparing yourself for such a change in lifestyle? The biggest suggestion that I can make, and I know this might sound a little cliche, is to just go for it. I spent years and years pondering it, thinking, oh, is it going to be okay? What are people going to think of me? Am I going to get, have issues with the police? Am I going to get arrested? Am I going to be, there's all these like crazy concerns. And then when I finally jumped in, and started living out of the element full time, I realized that none of those concerns really mattered, and that it wasn't really anything to worry about. So the best advice I can give is just go for it. James Reed has another one here. If it's not too personal, was wondering how you deal with dating or having a relationship in this lifestyle. And Midway also said, hi Nate, do you have a girlfriend? And then Midway, I saw your comment on the last video where I introduced Antine to y'all, and all that whole thing. So I thought that was pretty funny that you kind of saw that coming before it even happened. That was pretty cool. But either way, I do have a girlfriend, yes. And then in terms of dating, relationships, we're going to try to do a video at some point over the next few days, kind of going into detail about that and discussing that. Jake Weisenberg, hey Nate, huge fan of your channel. I have an 07 Element, nice. Just wondering, do you go home for the holidays? For me, I've pretty much only gone home for like Christmas. That's really the only time I've ever really gone home for like a holiday or anything like that. And I did that last year. I parked the Element in a friend's driveway, and it worked out really well. Mike Owen, where are you going, or where are you originally from? Love the channel. Thank you. I'm originally from like the south coast of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, right on the border there. L. Peterson, have you been to every state in the United States? Would you consider traveling in a foreign country? If so, where would you go? So in terms of every state, I have not. I haven't been to Alaska or Hawaii. And then in the continental U.S., I think there's 4 that I haven't been to: Kentucky, Michigan, Wisconsin, and I believe Indiana. I've been to like the airport in Michigan and stuff, but I don't really, like in Detroit, but I don't really count that. I need to go there and spend some time there in order to check it off the list, I guess. But yeah, those I want to get to those at some point. And then in terms of consider traveling to another country, I'd like to go to probably Spain. Would be the first one on my list. I studied Spanish in college. I studied a lot with the Spanish Civil War and Spanish history. I've been to Barcelona before, but I haven't really been anywhere else. I'd love to road trip around to Madrid and Valencia, Andalusia, Galicia, El País Vasco. I mean, all the different parts of Spain, and really spend some time, a few months exploring there. Miss Ash G, I'm going to be traveling to East Texas. From East Texas to South Carolina. I was wondering if you ever stayed at a rest stop off the interstate. I have done that before, maybe not on that exact route, but when I was in Utah just recently, I pulled off and stayed at a rest stop one night. The busier ones can get kind of loud because there's always big trucks coming in and out, big semi-trucks, but it ends up working out for me. I'm a pretty deep sleeper, so it definitely is a pretty good place to park. I've done it many times before. And it looks like you said you saw my staying cool in the van. You're wondering if I had any more tips. That's pretty much it. I mean, the biggest thing is just figuring out a way to get a nice 12-volt fan to get airflow, while you're sleeping and have it blowing on my face. I really enjoy having that. It keeps me cool even on warmer nights. Even if it's like 80 degrees outside, it can still be pretty comfortable in here with that fan running. Nas Coke, Nate, love your videos. Thank you. Do you record or journal your activities or other media on your vlogs? Not really. It's pretty much all through the vlog. Any sort of documenting that I'm doing of this whole experience is going to be through the videos that I'm making. Have you considered writing a book? At some point, I would like to make a book about my travels and things like that. No rush. It's not something that's on the immediate agenda or anything, but at some point, I think I would really enjoy writing it all down and doing that. That would be pretty cool. Rock Savage, what do you do with your car keys while you're out surfing? That's a good question. Most wetsuits now have like little pockets, and they have these little like loop things that you can loop your key into, and they're safe and they're designed specifically for keys, so you can take your key out with you when you surf, and then bring it back when you're when you're done surfing and unlock your car. So that's what I do. RV Road Crew, I'm considering an ambulance for full-time home. Well, what do you think of an ambulance? So I saw that a couple of folks responded to your comment there and kind of gave their input as well, and I kind of agree with them in the sense that an ambulance is big, it's heavy, it's essentially just like buying an RV, except it doesn't have anything in it, so you have to build everything in it. And then a lot of them are diesel, so they're going to be harder to find mechanics to work on, more expensive. They have those decals on them. I'm not really sure how you would really do a good job of removing them. I'm sure there's a way, but yeah, for me, I think that maybe getting like a box truck, something a little bit smaller, would be good. Or I mean, I'm not even going to do that. My biggest thing is being able to fit in a parking spot comfortably and be able to do that. So I would probably just go with a cargo van. That's what I'm planning to do next. Ambulance is definitely not something I'm considering, but people do it. It works for some people, so it could be the right choice for you. Crystal KC, hi Nate, love the videos. Do you plan to take van life overseas and explore other countries? As of right now, I don't really have any plans to do that, but I would like to at some point. You said which countries. I know I mentioned Spain and Europe, and then if I was maybe to go to Latin America, I would love to go up the coast in Chile and Peru, and then even in like Central America, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, El Salvador, mostly because the surf gets really good there, and I think it would be really awesome to explore that coastline and find little point breaks all the way up the coast. Meet Mop Moop, do your family and friends know you have a YouTube channel, and do they watch? So most of my friends know about it, and they've all seen some of the videos. I don't think they like watch everyone religiously or anything like that, but they definitely know about it. And family didn't really know about it until very recently. I managed to just mention it to my parents, and they've been watching a lot of the videos now. So hi Mom, if you're watching. And yeah, so to answer that part of your question, they do. A lot of my family and friends all know about it, and some of them watch. Turning Pages in Van Life. Hey Nate, I love your channel. Thank you. I've been watching for almost a year now. Right on. I just left San Diego because of gas prices. How are you coping with nearly double the cost of gas? I'm just trying to plan more and budget more. I mean, the bottom line is I like to move around a lot. I'm going to different surf breaks all the time. I'm always traveling around and stuff. So I find it really hard. Not to mention my gym is like 10 miles inland. The Planet Fitness is kind of away from where I hang out by the coast. So the bottom line is, like I said, I'm just going to have to budget for more gas and just kind of deal with spending a little bit more, but it is definitely a pain, but that's part of being here in California. Bob Prulex, I am considering traveling in my 2003 Element. Do you wish you had a bicycle at times to save on driving the Element? Not really. I think that it would be a real pain to figure out a way to mount a bike on the back without it getting stolen or without having too many issues. So I kind of have shied away from it. Putting on the roof rack would be a pain. And then also I really hate the idea of leaving the Element and being miles and miles away from it, off exploring on my bike. And then, I like to be close to it, just for, I guess, that peace of mind, but then also because what if I want a snack? What if I want to go eat lunch? Then I have to pack lunches. It just adds to the step. The Element isn't that difficult to park. It fits in all compact spaces and everything, so I don't think a bike is something that I want to do, at least not for now. Vagabonders, what is your favorite van life meal? It's probably the vegetable red curry that I make. I know it's been featured in quite a few videos, but I really enjoy making that. I haven't really ventured out and cooked too many crazy things yet in the Element, but it's definitely, I really do enjoy making that curry. I feel like it's healthy, it's good for you, and it tastes good, so it works out. Jason Wonder has a few questions here. One, do you ever get noticed while traveling? I do from time to time. When I was out in the national parks, folks would, I had folks beep at me and wave, and I've had folks come up to me and start talking to me and stuff like that. It does occasionally happen. I don't mind it. Definitely, if you see me out there and you want to come up and chat, I'm totally open to meeting you and chatting with you for a little bit, absolutely. And then 2, have you ever seen your sticker you sell somewhere? No, I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen it randomly or come across it, but maybe at some point. And then 3, no offense intended, but has anyone ever said your van smells? I would imagine that with dirty laundry and just human scent, you cannot help but have some odor in it. It might have an odor. I don't think anyone's ever said that to me before, and I'm a real neat freak. I really do everything that I can to clean. I clean out the sink all the time to prevent stuff from building up with with Clorox wipes, and then I keep my laundry contained in the front, and I do laundry very, very often. So I don't know. I'm sure that it smells a little bit, and I'm just used to the smell, but no one's really ever said that, though. Anthony, how often do you get a haircut? It's hot now. You could use a freshening up. I agree with you. My hair is getting long, and it's like a mop on your head, as it gets longer and longer in the summertime, it gets to be pretty uncomfortable. So I am thinking about getting a haircut pretty soon. That being said, how often do I get one? It really just depends on how I'm feeling. If it was the wintertime right now, I might say, no, I'm not going to cut it, but because it's getting hot, I probably want to get a haircut. Chris Allen Arnett, what made you choose those majors? Are you of Spanish descent? I am not of Spanish or Hispanic descent, but I've always been really interested in foreign language and culture. Ever since I was a little kid, I studied Spanish and French and Portuguese. I've taken classes in Russian and German and stuff like that. So I just really like languages a lot, and I guess that's probably why I decided to major in international relations and Spanish. John Cook, looks like you're still confused about how I have a license in one state and was able to register the element in Louisiana. I don't know. He said, does the Louisiana DMV accept any address, and did they ask for your driver's license? They didn't ask for my driver's license when I registered. I've bought numerous cars there while I've been there, and then left and then come back and stuff like that, and it's all worked out pretty well. They seem to accept pretty much any address. So yeah, I guess that's just how it is. They don't really care, I guess. Chris Mills, hey Nate, huge fan. If you end up getting another vehicle and it is not a Honda Element, would you keep the name Element Van Life? I know a couple of folks have asked this. I'm not really sure. I think that I might keep the name Element Van Life and then just maybe change the logo to like an Element, like a Raindrop or like a Wave or something elemental. I don't know. But I'm also considering changing it to something completely different that doesn't even include van life. I don't know. I'm not really sure. Part of me is leaning towards liking the idea of keeping Element Van Life as the name for at least a little while. Robert J, thanks for the vid, Nate. I have 2 questions. Do you speak any other languages, and what do you do for health insurance? So the health insurance thing I did mention in my last video. If you check out, I think it's the cost of living in a van, or how much does van life cost, something like that. If you look at that video, I do go into detail. It's called Liberty Health Share. It's a non-profit health cost sharing ministry. And yeah, if you Google it, there's a lot of information on it. And then, do you speak any other languages? English is definitely my primary language. Obviously, like, I studied Spanish in college, so I could kind of speak Spanish, but like, I don't know, and I've always been interested in, like I said, French, Portuguese, you know, all different languages. But English is definitely like my main language, and it's definitely the language that I'm the best at speaking, for sure. Adventures with Rosie, question for next week: can you come to New Zealand to teach me to surf? I would like to go to New Zealand at some point. Yeah, definitely. I don't know when that's going to happen, but it's going to be at some point in the distant future, more often than not. I'm kind of freaked out by like a 20+ hour plane ride. That kind of weirds me out a little bit. So once I get over that whole being weirded out by a long plane ride, then I'd like to go over to New Zealand and even Australia and spend some time exploring there. And the last couple of questions here. Isaac VR, have you had any favorite state or places that you have visited? It's hard for me to say a favorite state. I always find things that I like about all the states that I go to. There's a lot, like, every state has something unique and really beautiful and awesome about it. So I can't really say about my favorite state, but I can say that my favorite national park has been Glacier National Park to this day. You know, Zion was incredible, Grand Canyon, Arches, Bryce Canyon, Canyonlands. I mean, they were all amazing, but for some reason, that first experience that I had at Glacier was just surreal, and I can't wait to get back there and explore some more at some point in the future. And the last one here from Isaac VR as well is about my bed. I guess they're saying if I could figure out a way to not have to change it every morning but sacrifice space, would I do it? I don't think it's possible to have a bed in here in the Element, especially with this, obviously with the setup, with the seat setup, because I really like having the seat. So in the Element, I don't think it would be possible to keep a permanent bed, but in my next vehicle, my next dwelling, whatever that's going to be, I'm definitely going to figure out a way that's going to be a priority so that I don't have to set up and break down the bed every night and every morning, because that does become a pain over time. It definitely does. So that sums it up for all the questions this week, guys. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.